Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE and see how this particular phone holds up in 2025. Now, the thing I can definitely tell you about the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE is that this is still a very good type of phone. I think Samsung put a lot of stuff inside of this type of phone when it first came out, and their whole entire FE lineup is just about having to how to save the most amount when it comes down to buying that type of console, right? And that is kind of this type of phone. And that is kind of what's going on here for the most part. So I'm still a fan of this type of device. I think, like I said before, I think, Samsung they do good jobs with these types of devices. And I do think in a lot of ways, they're still pretty much worth buying. So let's go and see how this type of device holds up. Now, number one, like I mentioned, if you want to go through and buy a phone like this, links will be down in the description below. You can get that from there, and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of the Galaxy S24 FE. This phone on the front side is giving you a 6.7-inch dynamic AMOLED display. So this display in and of itself is actually pretty decent. It's not really like a terrible display or a bad display at all. This thing still is giving you a pretty good type of experience. So it's a 120 hertz. And like I said before, if you're going to go through and pick up any sort of type of phone, you're going to be getting a really good type of experience from this thing for the most part. So it still looks great. It still performs pretty good as well. And I will tell you from that side, this type of console is still very much, worth buying in a lot of ways. And I'm going to keep saying console when I actually mean phone. I just made a gaming console video, so that's why I keep saying that. Now, beyond that, I do think when you're looking at the rest of this body, you have to remember that these phones are basically going to be cheaper versions of their kind of more expensive counterparts. Meaning, if you're going to go through and buy a phone like this, you have to remember this is not supposed to be competing with the Samsung Galaxy S24. This is supposed to be kind of in its own league. So that's kind of one of the easiest ways to kind of understand these types of devices for the most part. They're not really supposed to be big, major, flagship replacements. But they're supposed to be good mid-tier phones that you can go ahead and buy and still have a decent time with it when it kind of comes down to it. So from that side too, that kind of covers it up there for the most part. When it kind of comes down to the rest of the body, this thing is giving you a USB Type-C port on the bottom. It's also going to be able to go through and give you a standard type of build quality. The back side is interesting because they do actually give you a glass back inside of this thing, which typically for a while we weren't actually getting glass backs inside of our devices. So now we are actually getting that type of capability now, which I'm actually a big fan of. So, this build quality of this phone already does kind of stack up pretty well when it kind of comes down to that side as well, which, like I said before, it is kind of another advantage for this type of device when it comes down to it. So, albeit it's not necessarily the nicest thing in the world, it still is a pretty good, decent feeling phone. You're getting wireless charging inside of this phone. You are also getting reverse wireless charging inside of this phone as well. You're getting your triple camera setup, so that's also another really nice thing going on for this type of device. And overall, when you look at this type of device, I do think Samsung, like I said before, did do a pretty good job with this phone. It's barely even a year old yet, so it's not even an old phone, but I always appreciate and I always like it when manufacturers like Samsung make these types of mid-tier phones that other people can buy, because they do a good job at replacing kind of what you'd expect from a major flagship into some of these types of devices. So in terms of that, I think that kind of covers it up there too. Now, on top of that, another important thing to keep in mind here as well is when it basically comes down to the overall capability of these types of phones when it comes down to the camera side. So the first thing you have to remember is that the camera inside of this type of device, it is still a triple camera setup. So you're still able to go through and get that standard type of triple camera setup inside of this type of phone. So that right there is still a really nice thing to basically have. You're going to be able to go through and get that type of capability inside of this type of device. So that right there is going to be a nice thing to basically have there. So, I still love being able to go through and buy these types of devices, and you are still going to be able to go through and get a good, decent type of device from that particular perspective. So I will tell you from that side, albeit it's not going to be the craziest, nicest thing in the world, it still is going to be good enough for the most part. Now you are getting 8K capability on the backside, and you are getting 4K at 60 on the front side, which, like I mentioned before, that is also another really nice thing to have here as well. And being able to go through and get that type of capability inside of these types of devices, like I mentioned, is also another one of those really nice things too. So I know for me personally, going through and getting these types of devices is nice, and it's a good enough camera, but again, it's not nearly as good as something like a Samsung Galaxy S24. Those are going to be giving you an overall better type of camera layout, But I do think with the Galaxy S24 FE, this type of camera still does a really good job. It still gives you really good experience. And no matter what you're going to do at the end of the day, this is still one of those types of devices that I'm still a pretty decent fan of when it comes down to it. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there. Now, on top of that, another important thing to keep in mind here too is that with something like the Samsung Galaxy S24 FE, this type of device is also going to be kind of in one of those situations where you're going to be able to look at something like a Galaxy S24 FE and feel very confident that this type of phone is going to be supported with software for many, many years now. Like, this phone is pretty much just getting started with software support. And that is one of the coolest things about this type of device. So if you're going to go through and pick up really any phone, you should probably feel pretty confident that within a device like this, you're going to be getting a device and getting a phone that is still going to be supported with software for a long, long time. And you won't really have to worry about this type of device like, oh, is it going to be supported with software this year or this year? Like, that's not quite the case. This phone is going to be supported for a long period of time. And I think that right there is another one of those really cool things to keep in mind there from that perspective. So I personally like this phone a lot because of that. And the battery life inside of this phone was also pretty good. I believe I did a battery test when I first bought it, but even if not, this battery life for the most part is going to be giving you a pretty good type of experience. And I think that right there is going to be another one of those really nice things to keep in mind there as well, because you're going to be able to go through and get a device and overall get a phone that is still going to be able to give you like a really good type of capability and a really good type of battery life. And another really nice thing behind the Galaxy phones, the S24s, was that the battery life's, is great, but for some reason with these, these types of devices now, they're putting in these like Exynos chipsets, which I'm not the biggest fan of. Hopefully they end up changing that. Hopefully they don't keep it like that forever. But it is one of those things they ended up doing here. But, they are Exynos chipsets at the end of the day. They're not terrible, but, I wish they were a little bit better when it kind of comes down to it as well. But, that's kind of what it is as of this point. So what I can definitely tell you in my personal opinion, when I look at something like a Galaxy S24 FE, is that a phone like this, still does a good job at a lot of things that you end up throwing at it, right? Like, these types of devices, for the most part, they're still going to be good and they're still going to be able to give you like a lot of things. But I will tell you, for the most part, there are probably better types of devices that you can go and get your hands on rather than these ones, right? Like, I look at a phone like a Galaxy S24 FE and I feel like this type of device is still giving you like a good type of experience. But I do feel like there might be some better options out there for the most part. I personally feel like phones like the Galaxy S24 or like a used Galaxy S24 is probably going to be able to give you an overall better type of experience rather than this thing, right? Like, I feel like if you're going to go through and pick up one of those types of devices, it does kind of make more sense to go and buy something like a Galaxy S24 FE, or standard Galaxy S24 over a Galaxy S24 FE. And even now that they've been out for a little bit in the used market, I feel like you can get a Galaxy S24 for roughly around the same price as a brand new S24 FE, if not a little bit cheaper than that. So that's another one of those things that I kind of feel like as well. So that's kind of how I feel like it. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out, till then.